I have been following the video game industry longer than probably some of you viewers have been alive. And I can honestly say with pretty much 100% certainty, I've never seen a situation quite like the HighGuard situation. This has been a catastrophic calamity of different errors compounding into one absolutely disastrous launch for this game. A game that might have actually had a chance had it not been positioned the way that it was positioned when it was first revealed. And many people are quick to point out that they feel that Geoff Keighley is the reason that this game is not going to succeed. And I think you're partially right. I think it's kind of a perfect storm of different events. I think the Geoff Keighley stuff did not help the situation. So I kind of just want to take a look at HighGuard as it stands now and essentially explain to you guys why I feel like this has become what it has become with this game. To start things off, we have to look at the scene of HighGuard. HighGuard is a free-to-play game. It came out on Steam by the time you're watching this video, roughly 2 days ago or so, and well, here's the information that we have so far. It peaked around 97,000 users playing the game at once and has been on, well, a pretty steady decline right now. The all-time peak was 97,249. In the past 24 hours, we're down to 34,000 players playing it, and at the time of the filming of this video, we are at 18,000 players. Now, if this was a single-player game or something like that, that would probably be very respectable. You know, people wouldn't think anything of that. They'd say, oh, you know, well, it peaked high and then it kind of went down. But this isn't a single-player game. This is a PvP raid shooter where players will ride, fight, and raid as wardens, arcane gunslingers, sent to fight for control of a mythical continent. You can see here the reviews. Well, they're not that great. The people don't seem to really be loving the game so far from what they have played, and it's understandable to some aspect. But I feel like we really have to go back in time to see kind of what happened with this game, because I think this game was in trouble from the moment that it was unveiled. You have to look at how this was done. This was the last big announcement at the Game Awards 2025. Geoff Keighley came out there and made a big pomp and circumstance about the game, talking about ex-developers from more popular games that were involved in this game, and creating something unlike we had seen before from the genre. And then they showed off the trailer for the game. Now, admittedly, this is not really my type of game per se. The PvP market is a very oversaturated market, in my opinion. And when you kind of look at the graveyard of games that have tried to be the next big thing in PvP games, obviously this game would have a bit of an uphill climb to make in order to be relevant. For every game such as a Fortnite or a recently released Arc Raiders, there is a litany of hundreds of games that have tried to encapsulate the same sort of feeling that these games have offered to no real sort of success. Studios get shut down, people get laid off, tons of money is wasted trying to find the next lightning in a bottle situation. The fact of the matter is, there are a lot of games like this that are PvP style games. And in order to kind of make your mark within things, you either have to come out really swinging, have something that people are looking for within the genre, or just be completely different to everything else and cross your fingers and hope and pray that some big Twitch streamer or YouTube streamer picks up the game and enjoys playing it. However, that's not the case with this game. When you parade it out as a final announcement, people have a certain level of expectation when it comes to things like that. And the fact of the matter is, this game did not appeal to a lot of people. But more importantly, I really feel like if this game would have been in the middle of the showcase or towards the start of the showcase, nobody really would have cared as much. The problem was how this game was positioned. Now, there's a story floating around that the initial last game that was supposed to be revealed ended up something happened with it. Geoff asked HighGuard if they wanted to be the final game, and they said sure, and they weren't exactly charged any additional money to get that prestigious spot. But you're putting a spotlight on yourself that unless you're doing something that is kind of different, something that is big, something that is large and extravagant, you're probably going to be ridiculed for it. Many people said that KOTOR 3 or whatever should have been the final thing. Mega Man 11 would have been a better example. And I think both of those things stand strong and stand true. Those are IPs with name recognition, IPs that gamers can attach themselves to. When you're introducing a brand new IP in a very prestigious spot, then you're going to run into trouble. But this is kind of where the Geoff Keighley train a little bit derails, in my opinion, because obviously it wasn't a great first impression for HighGuard. So what did they do? Did they try to change the narrative? Did they, show a bunch of stuff, show why this game was going to be something special? No. Instead, they did probably the worst thing they could have done, which was go radio silent up until the release of the game. They literally never showed off anything. They never talked about anything. They never tried to get people excited for this game beyond some closed beta tests that ended up happening allegedly with some different sorts of streamers and stuff like that. This would have been a golden opportunity to sort of recoup your image and try and make your game attractive to more people. Explain to people who maybe aren't interested in these PvP games what you're doing differently than a game like an Overwatch or Helldivers or a Fortnite or all of these different games that exist within these universes, that it's a very saturated market. How are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to stand out? But no, we just went quiet instead. Completely radio silent. Actually, the only kind of real reminder that we had of this game coming out was from Geoff Keighley, because sometimes people can't keep their mouths shut with things like this, and Geoff decided to make a little cheeky tweet saying that in 48 hours, people were going to be apologizing to him, utilizing a John Hammond quote from, of course, Jurassic Park. And we all kind of know how Jurassic Park ended up. It wasn't a good time for people. The park never opened. People died. But hey, at least you got your interaction over there on Twitter. And now we're at this stage of the game. We're at the stage where this game, that obviously had a lot of prestigious people from various studios that have worked on successful PvP games before, came together to create something interesting. But the hype of the announcement of it and the kind of changing of the narrative when it comes to these games definitely damned it from the start. I think the real problem with HighGuard is not only how it was positioned, but it's just kind of a mediocre game. It's a game that's going to take time to find its footing. It's a game that if it came out with without all the hype and hoopla and stuff surrounding it, and was something that felt more organic, then I think it would have had a better chance at succeeding. You might not have had 97,000 people on day one, but you might have been able to accumulate an audience to get up to that spot by being organic. It almost feels a little bit like something that I don't think the video game industry has ever had to deal with before. But it's something that happens a lot in the music industry, where you see something, you see an artist just come up out of nowhere, and you're like, where did this person come from? Now they're getting all this notoriety, they're getting all this recognition, and you kind of start to wonder, well, what's going on behind the scenes with this person? Who is this person? Why are they immediately thrust into the limelight? And then you get into the industry plant side of things. Is HighGuard an industry plant for the video game industry? Because it seems very similar in terms of trajectory of how an industry plant sort of works. You come out of the gate swinging, all of a sudden nobody knows who you are, and everybody knows who you are. You're getting top billing at events and stuff like that, hype and hoopla, and people are talking about you. And I really feel like there was something weird with this. But even if it's not an industry plant, I think it does kind of show that there is a disconnect between the Game Awards and the average gamer. This is something I've been saying for years, and honestly, I bust Geoff's balls a lot on this channel, but I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's the antichrist of gaming. I just feel like he's a little bit disconnected to what's actually going on, to what people are actually interested in. The PvP market is very oversaturated. There's something for everyone within it. And it seems like HighGuard tried to take elements from various games that already exist and put it within its own sort of game. And that's fine. You know, you're not really reinventing the wheel. And like I said, if this was an organic thing, maybe there was a chance of success. Maybe there was a chance in a perfect world where people found this game organically. And then they told their friends. And then people started streaming it. I think the introduction at the Game Awards was a death blow for this game. Because yes, it is a bit of a coin flip. If you end up being successful and, you know, people are excited for your game and you are in that prime spot, then this could set you on pace to be one of the greatest games potentially of the generation or something like that. Something that people gravitate towards. But then on the other side of the coin, you have to kind of read the room. We're all kind of sick of these games. You know, look at PlayStation. PlayStation right now is having to restructure the way they are doing things because they were banking on these PvP, PvE, you know, games as a service games and stuff like that to really be leading them in the sales of games and bringing them, you know, tons of money because of games that are successful within the genre. But you got to look at the graveyard of all of these games that have come and gone, even games that have been a success that just fizzled out in the middle of the night. They left you. Like your dad going out to get a pack of cigarettes. But yeah, I think HighGuard is fucked. And I don't think Geoff Keighley did it any favors. Is he the sole reason for this game? More than likely being a flop. And in 3 months, nobody's going to be playing this or talking about it? No. I think some responsibility does go on the developers for going radio silent with this game, completely just abandoning, you know, any sort of, you know, organic marketing or giving people a reason to be excited for this, explaining the game, because as it stands, like, unless you're watching a review of it, there hasn't really been any sort of additional information out there. And with a game like this that has different sorts of mechanics going on with it, you would think that would want to be explained off the jump with marketing and stuff like that. Anyways, guys, those are just my opinions on HighGuard. Maybe it'll end up being a success. Maybe it'll end up, you know, being one of the biggest games of all time. I don't think it will. Like, I'd put money on that. But maybe I'm wrong on this. Let me know what you think, though, in the comment section down below. Have you checked out HighGuard? It is free to play, and I have to be honest with you, I have no reason to want to play this. You know who is playing it? SpawnWave. Even though Evan in a group chat said that he played it and the game was terrible, he's the resident PC person. SpawnWave tries to get people to play all these shitty games all the time because he's a terrible human being, a terrible person, and a terrible friend. I mean, it's just the truth at this point. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.